Polls show they want to hear about what's being done to dig us out of the deep affordability hole that we were in under the last administration. Let's bring in David Stryzewski, CEO of Sound Planning Group. David, good to have you back. What is going on with consumer sentiment recently, and what do you see is being done about it, if anything?
Well, consumer sentiment right now is not fallen because Americans are irrational. It's fallen because real life experiences like you were sharing, they just contradict the CPI inflation numbers that we're seeing. People trust their grocery bill a lot more than they do these government press releases. And the Fed just made it worse. They delayed this data that was, locked up here with the government shutdown, and then they backed away from the expected December rate cut. So this introduced a whole new layer of uncertainty that we're seeing in these polls right now. So I ultimately call this the Arthur Burns mistake 2.0, the guy who messed it up in the last inflation cycle. The Fed just gave us unpredictable timings, and the consumer needs a lot more clarity. So sentiment is not an emotional thing. It's more of a mathematical thing. And obviously with credit cards at 25%, savings is shrinking. The dollar's buying less every month, and families are feeling it. But here's the good news about that. Sentiment is elastic. One clear signal from the Fed, one clear signal from the president, and people regain confidence quickly. So this doesn't have to be a collapse. Ultimately, it's just a moment of confusion that I think could be fixed.
Right. The focus needs to be readjusted and talk about exactly what you just mentioned. We haven't really seen much government data out that may have contributed to this sentiment, but, the shutdown and everything. But September's job numbers came out yesterday, way better than expected, right? Adding 119,000, but unemployment ticked slightly up from 4.3% to 4.4%. So what's your take on those numbers?
Well, what we're seeing right now is people take more part-time jobs. So if you've got a full-time job that's not paying all the bills, making ends meet, you got to take a part-time job. So obviously with the holiday season coming up right now, consumers are looking at how do I, get a little bit more so that we can continue to afford the Christmas that we want to provide, pay off some of these credit card bills, et cetera. And, so I think that a lot of those numbers are actually reflective more of part-time work. So obviously the consumer's resilient. They'll go back to work and do those things. Just hopefully they're not getting tired here as this has been, kind of a long process with this higher inflation time.
You mentioned the credit card debt, the high APR rates, the interest rates. So the Feds meet early next month, but we don't have the job numbers for October or November. Those won't come out until after the Fed meeting. So what do you think they're going to do with interest rates?
They're going to leave them. They're just sort of punting the ball right now. We've got a higher for longer time frame that's likely going to be with us here. You can kind of see that in some of the moves that were made with like the 50-year mortgage, which I've been calling for about 2 years now. So, in fact, also one of the things they did is they said, hey, banks, instead of, reducing rates, we're just going to give you the ability to go from, 10% reserve requirements down to 8%. So kind of loosen up the belt a little bit, although that's maybe not great for the banking system long term for the health. But I think that they're going to stay higher for longer. And ultimately, when you see NVIDIA earnings still coming out positive, Palantir coming out positive, we're still in a strong economy. So they're sort of at this place saying the stock market is the economy. And they think that, as long as that's up, then we don't really have to cut. I think that we got to look at the average consumer, and the average consumer needs lower rates. They need the ability to refinance. They need the ability for businesses to get more capital and to do capital expenditures. So I think they're going to wait to really drop it. But I could be wrong, but I think they'll do it all at once.
David Stryzewski, in the meantime, have a happy Thanksgiving, CEO of Sound Planning Group. Thank you.
And a happy birthday to you if we don't talk here sooner.
Thank
really
you.
Grateful for you, Alicia.
Thank you, David.
God bless you.
Appreciate you. God bless you too, my friend.
Thank you.